31 political parties are contesting the national and provincial elections for the first time. Can new and smaller parties punch above their weight at the polls? And do they have the capability of beating these more established parties? Well, as we continue to look at the role that the newer, smaller political parties play in this year's elections, we ask if small and new parties are doing enough to put themselves out there. And to discuss this matter and their manifestos, we are joined in studio this morning by three of those parties: the African Content Movement, the President, Claudie Motsoeneng, XILUVA President, Bongani Baloyi, and National Coloured Congress President, Fadil Adams. So this is all Elections 2024. It's a role of smaller political parties in building a brighter future for South Africa. Let's have a look at some of the parties and what they say they stand for. So here we go. This is the African Content Movement. This is Claudie Motsoeneng, who is here with us. We'll talk a little bit about what they have to say. But these are key priorities that we've been hearing from them. Create a generation of citizens with sustainable knowledge, entrepreneurship skills, offload problems around youth unemployment and skills development, reduce inequality, and prioritize education. So that's the ACM. Let's have a look now at what the National Coloured Congress are saying. They want adequate housing for all, social development and welfare, land reform, energy efficiency, and youth empowerment. So that's the NCC. And XILUVA, here we go. This is their priorities that they've outlined. So here we go. Reconstruction of government, unleashing citizen potential, infrastructure investment, law and order, and then, of course, state-owned enterprises and logistics. So that's just to give you a little bit of an idea as to what it is that the parties are wanting to achieve if you vote for them and if you put them in power. So how will they do it, though? That's always the big question. It's nice to write it down on a piece of paper, but when action needs to be implemented, what happens? Here they are. They're ready to explain to us. Guys, I'm looking forward to this. This is feisty if I've ever seen it. Welcome to the studios.
Thank you for having us.
This is good. How are you excited?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling being back?
You know, I'm Saudi, so it's normal. Yeah.
The guy said you've got like an advantage. You're on former home ground territory. So I don't know about advantage, but yeah, welcome back, Claudie.
Thank you, thank you.
Guys, we're here to talk about your manifestos, your parties, what it is that you are saying to South Africans. So let me begin with you, Claudie, because you got an interesting stance. I was searching for your manifesto. There is no manifesto for your party. That's the first and outright thing. But tell us, what do you stand for? What is it all about?
No, let me deal with manifesto. What is manifesto? Do you know what is manifesto?
A list of promises and what the party's going to be doing. But you don't believe in that. You want to get in there and lead. That's what you want to do.
No, where it comes from.
Go for it. Tell me. I'm ready to be educated.
Okay. I don't believe in that manifesto. Manifesto, it comes from Latin. Manifest, wait, that is where it comes from. When you talk about manifesto, you talk about ideas, you talk about opinions and views. We don't need that. All parties that are talking about manifesto, people should not vote for them because they are not talking about real issues. Me and you, we know what are the issues in South Africa. We need to fix the economy because many people are unemployed. Many young people from tertiary level, they can't work. So for me, I need to fight the poverty like a hell because there's no way where we can depend on grants. That is the first issue that we need to deal with because I want at least 70% of people of South Africa educated, not educated, they must work. Whether you are a cleaner, you come from tertiary, we must be able to create employment for people. And my party stands for 90%. And people, when we talk about 90%, they think we talk about artists only. No. What we mean by 90%, I mean, example, I come from Free State. I don't need people to go up and down to come into Gauteng, fighting for opportunities. Why can't provinces create employment, local people where they are? That is the role of government, to make sure the environment is conducive for investors. And I can tell you, I have action to act because all of us, we know, all these manifestos is like Bible, reading Bible. Actually, they must come with Bible or books because it is not going to assist us. We know people need water, people need electricity, people need jobs.
Yeah.
Those are the priority. We must just act. We don't need ideas now. We'll come with ideas after fixing South Africa.
Okay.
That is what I stand for.
All right, there you go, Claudia. Don't need a manifesto for that. You've told us what the problems are and what you're going to be going through. Bongani, you do have a manifesto, though, as a party, but you come from a very interesting background and one where we would always look at you as one of the youngest mayors we've ever had and doing a phenomenal job in Midvaal. I mean, that was where you came from. You were a member of the DA. You achieved great things in that position. Then you said, no, this is not for me. I'm going to find out who I am, what I stand for. That's where XILUVA came from. Right. Perhaps you want to, you've had a lot of self-introspection, and we can see that, we can hear that coming from you. But what is it that XILUVA stands for? What is a vote to XILUVA in your manifesto?
Well, firstly, we are guided by Ubuntu. Many people misdefine Ubuntu and just leave it to saying, I am because we are, and not really understand and define Ubuntu to the three main key aspects of Ubuntu. The first part is Abantu Umuntu, so which destroys this thinking from liberalism and many other isms that says you're an individual first before you're part of a society. In our case, you're part of a society first, and your basis and your contribution towards the communal table of the society makes you an individual. So that's why you find the system where we are in now so individualized that the community does not really benefit from everything that we do because the interest is of an individual interest. Then there's this Sintu, then there's Amasigo as well, which I won't go too deep into. But I want to focus then on how does Ubuntu translate into a response into government, right? Number one, it firstly says to us we're a communitarian society. Number two, it means that we need to restructure government to follow the principles of Ubuntu. In following the principles of Ubuntu, it means that the state must retain its power and authority to be able to exercise its mandate in delivering to the people. So that means, number one, we need to reduce cabinet. Half cabinet. Number two, which is the most controversial, we propose that we move away from a constitutional democracy to a parliamentary sovereignty, because then Parliament retains the power to make laws which are binding on all of us without an escape route, which is a constitutional court, which in the recent times have made problematic judgments which are impractical to implement on local government and various other spheres of government. And we further believe that you must reduce, in fact, remove the sphere of provincial government, because the bulk of the monies that should go to local municipalities are not finding themselves there. So we believe that the bulk of the competencies and responsibilities must be where the people are. And we further propose that we then scale down on municipalities from the 257 to 60 district municipalities in the country, which consolidates the spending and the planning and coordination of government much better than it currently is now. That will result in a delivery methodology that delivers for people, where people will see. So and two functions that we propose that must be devolved to local government or district municipalities, as we will call them, will be primarily education and policing. Now, these two functions are very important that be performed and managed at the local level, as opposed to the policy aspect, which is at a national level and where you deal with other key issues. But most importantly, we firmly believe that once you create this government that is restructured, you also deal with the economy in a substantial basis. The economy is the key to all the ills we see in our society in terms of our socio-economic challenges at this point in time. So it's important for us to get the economy going. How to get the economy going? First and foremost, you need to ensure that the economy can transact without interruption. So it means ESCOM, logistics, infrastructure needs to be dealt with. On the point of infrastructure, there's two categories. One, there needs to be a local government infrastructure bailout, where we build reservoirs, or in fact bulk. Yeah. And then you need to deal with national infrastructure that is important, like your ports of entry, maritime, and various others to create industry. But most importantly, we need to deepen transformation.
All right, there you go. Those are your 3 minutes that you've used well, explaining and outlining exactly what you'll do. You are non-apologetic for what you stand for. And that's the National Coloured Congress. You are a party that is fighting for the rights of the coloured community, and you're very vocal, unapologetic, and you know what you stand for. But I want you to tell the rest of South Africa what you stand for and what it is that their vote for you means.
I'm with Laudy on this issue. I wish I was stronger in our NEC meeting, because I don't believe in manifestos either. because the manifesto was nothing more but 5 more years of promises and a whole lot of lies. We stand for the colored community unapologetically for the simple reason that no one in this country has ever done it before. You know, we speak for a community that is undergoing a genocide, a state-sponsored genocide in my view. Our manifesto speaks to the colored people. It's not the thickest one. I mean, I read through the EFF manifesto and it's a massive document. Ours is tiny by comparison, but it's because it's more focused. It's a manifesto written for the man in the street because it aims to do for the man in the street. And it speaks to the most pressing needs in the colored community. It speaks to the crime aspect. It speaks to gangsterism. It speaks to unemployment. It speaks to the lack of housing, the lack of opportunity. It speaks to the, I don't want to use strong words. It speaks to the degrading services that we receive as a people. And I think it's a workable manifesto. We're not promising anything that can't be delivered. I mean, I listen to some political leaders and I say, it can't be done. Not with the finances at hand, not with the time period that we're facing. We've delivered a manifesto that, if elected, we can deliver on every one of those promises. I don't need 3 minutes to conclude because what we're talking about, it can be done within 5 years.
And it's real. It's what you see when you walk through the areas, particularly in Cape Town, to describe very much so what you're saying. But what I want to ask you, it's quite a bold statement to make that you believe we're living in a state-sponsored genocide against the colored community. Perhaps you can elaborate on that for us. What do you mean?
20 people shot dead in 24 hours in Mitchell's Plain. 20.
And why are the state responsible for that?
Policemen sell the guns. I mean, policemen go to jail for selling guns. Policemen get short jail sentences for selling guns. The state is responsible. We are bringing a class action against the state for the deaths of innocent children on the Cape Flats. It is a state-sponsored genocide, and it's a multi-pronged genocide. The Department of Labor can throw away colored people's CVs, and no one is prosecuted. Policemen can... Operation Impimpi of 2017 was cancelled in 2019. It was an investigation into the policemen who were selling guns on the Cape Flats. It was cancelled. The state is at fault. Let me tell you something. I believe that the state is not only at fault, it's complicit. That the deaths, the unfortunate, untimely deaths of young colored men on the Cape Flats is entirely avoidable. We've asked, we've begged, we've protested. Government is deaf to our plea.
And that's what we're going to talk about after the break. I want to find out what you would do if you were in power, particularly crime seems to be a big one that we need to focus on. But let's quickly take a break. You've also sent us some questions. We'll bring those up to the respective leaders. But that break, we continue straight afterwards. Interviewers' questions we go now, as we've got 3 of the representatives from the parties that we've got here. We've got the African movement, the content movement. We've got XILUVA and the National Coloured Congress represented here by their leaders in studio. And questions have come through. So let's get into it. And Claudia, this one is coming for you, ACM. Will you be participating in all 9 provinces? Big question. In the upcoming elections, and the issue of high crime and corruption in South Africa. I know you've said you're running to be president of South Africa. That's what you want to do, but perhaps you can talk to provinces and everything.
Look, ACM, we are contesting national elections, which means we'll be voting us on national level and regional level. The only province that we are contesting is Free State.
Yeah.
We are doing that because of the financial challenges, because we don't have more money. We are focusing in the Free State and nationally only, so people can vote for us there, they will find us there. But maybe to deal with the issue of a crime, you know, we must first look what caused crime. For me, some of the issues, crime is caused by people are not paid well. Police example. Some of the police, they will be involved in these crime issues because they are not being paid well. For me, I believe that to fix this issue of crime, we need to pay police well. And all employees, we need to pay employees well. When you go to the bank, it's a shame what the banks are paying workers. So for me, if you fix payment, salary issues of people, South Africa will be a happy country, because you can't work and you go to Machonesa. So I'm not saying only those issues cause crime, but I think if we can pay police well, we can look after our people well, we will reduce crime. That for me is what I think we should do. But also, unemployed. Yeah. It is, for me, it is serious. And people just talk about unemployment. You can't fix unemployment if you don't fix the economy. We need investors outside the country and locally. What I need to do is to make sure that, like I said earlier, provinces themselves, they create employment. More investors invest in those provinces. I want to start where I come from in my province, because there were firms where I come from, factories, the former homeland Kwago. Those factories are dead now. They are white elephant, but they are there. We need just to fix the basics so that those firms can operate and people can get jobs. But also, I need to deal with this issue of service delivery. Have you seen how government runs during elections time for service delivery?
Well-oiled engine.
You know, I want to fix that. ACM, people are not going to run for during elections. I'm not going to run and mobilize people to vote for me. My work will talk for my party.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm well known when it comes to action. No one, when it comes to I'm very decisive. No one can question that. They may question me about issues that they don't agree with me. But if I'm saying I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to have all these imbizos and other matters wasting time. But I need to deal with this unemployment issue.
Yeah.
For me, I want South Africa to work day and night. I want 8 hours during the night to employ people. They should work during the night. I employ people during the day like we are here now. So you have those shifts, 24 hours. Because if you go to Arab nations, you'll find that when you are there, it's like daily. Even the electricity, their lights are superb.
Yeah.
You don't know whether it's night or it's during the day. So I want to build South Africa like that. But also, because I don't have English, it's good for me because I just do things. So when people vote for me, they know I'm going to do it. But also, a leader, why people should vote for Claudia? I have a good heart. I have a caring heart for people, because if people suffer, they don't have service delivery, I have pain for that. These other leaders, they don't have pain. Yeah. If you don't have pain, people are crying. They are unemployed. Their students can't go to school because of their parents can't afford. You sleep. You at the SABC, you'll know I was not sleeping here. My eyes were red.
From working very hard and doing, Mr. Do, Mr. Right, Mr. Kind, Mr. Heart. There's lots of names to call you, Claudia, but that's pretty much so what you're saying.
I'm just going to do everything. I'm just going to implement. No negotiations.
And unemployment. Because
when you are hungry, you need to eat. People will eat.
Indeed.
If they elect me.
Okay, all right. I think we're hearing from Claudia what he stands for. Ernest writing in, Bongani, this one's for you. I feel like these parties are deliberately confusing themselves. They know they're not capable of running this country. We don't even know them in the rural communities where we stay. We've never seen them. I guess they just want to be in parliament, period. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think that attitude is quite problematic to allege that people who want to do something for their country are doing it just to get a seat in parliament and just for proximity to power and to benefit their friends. By extension, that's what it also means. And I think it's also quite problematic for the following reason, that look at the unemployment rate in the country. More than 50% of these people in the country are not unemployed. People my age are unemployed and unemployable. Stats SA tells us that when people my age get to 32 without having any work environment experience, they become extremely unemployable. So what is the benchmark, or what is the standard for leadership in the country? What type of person then qualifies to be a president of this country? So if you look at what's available in the market, would you then say a person who has proximity to the Oppenheimers and they are funded and then they get a bigger profile, bigger platform is the type of person that you want? Would you then say someone who hides American dollars in his couch is the type of person you want as a president? Or someone with a questionable background around VPS? Are those the people that we are saying this is the standard for leadership and these people will determine the future of the country? If that is the standard, then I reject it from a dizzying height, because I firmly believe that people like me more and more must get into politics and be able to serve their communities. I served Midvaal residents for 10 years then 8 years as a mayor. I understand what delivery is. I understand what service delivery is and the methodology to get things right consistently. I understand that firmly. And I also have a deep appreciation of unemployment, of inequality and poverty. And the fact that when I was a mayor, I could not directly resolve those things and have a greater budget. These are the things that said to me, one must be able to go to a next level in terms of our spheres of government and to trying to do more. And if we have the levers of national government, we can definitely deal with inequality, unemployment, and also the issues of poverty. These are the things that cause crime. So many people will simply respond to the issue of crime by saying, let's add more police. It simply means you want to arrest more people. We are obsessed about getting people in their communities before they make the decision that tonight I don't know what I'm going to eat before I sleep, so I'm going to commit a crime to have something. I want to get to those people first before they can make that decision. A sensible government does exactly that. Not a government that keeps sponsoring social spending from the social basket and saying, look at what we're doing to relieve our people, the 350, this grant, while the economy is failing. And the consequence of a failing economy is the fact that you must increase the social spending. So we want to actually reduce on social spending by fixing the economy and unlocking human potential, because that's a problem. People aren't happy with just 350. They want more. They want to create livelihoods. People like me who are looking at the TV now want to own homes. They don't want their biggest aspiration in life to own an RDP home and an EPWP job. They want better. So government must facilitate that. That's what we're going to do with state power. It's not to empower others or empower our friends or those who seek to perpetuate the current economic challenges we have in the country because they benefit maximally. So for us, we are very clear that we have to deal decisively, including the capital now. They're sitting with more than 1 trillion rands in their reserves and not spending in the country, not investing in the people of this country because they might differ with whoever is running the country. I think that demonstrate that the biggest part of the private sector might not actually be patriots in this country. They don't love this country. What they're after is a bottom line. So to change the politics means we change those types of activities and the type of behavior. That's why you must vote for newer parties, because the established parties are part of the problem. When people sit around the corner and those who sponsor these parties, they tell them what they must do, what they cannot do. I can guarantee you there's no way that the Oppenheimers are giving all these political parties, including every other PEEP donors, and they don't want anything from this country in terms of influencing politics, influencing the policies that are made by these politicians. There is a danger. It's one thing we must appreciate about our democracy, that our democracy is for sale.
Yeah, and I know you've been very vocal about that. You have said yourself that as a party, you've insulated yourself from external money. You're saying you are products of poverty, so you know exactly what it's like to not have anything and build yourself up into something. Yeah. But is that real? I mean, is that a reality? Sorry, I'm giving you an extra 30 seconds. How do you do this without getting funding? I mean, how are you building a party without money?
We've got the biggest people who support us are young people, okay, who are unemployed, have energy and are sitting at home just like me. So the biggest thing we do is on the ground regularly. We had to struggle to scrape together a deposit for IEC. Now we've got a few debts, but we've crossed that mark because we are quite clear what we want to do with this, with power when we get it. We won't forget those people who we are growing in those environments. But most importantly, we must uplift their lives, and those people want something better. And the fact that smaller parties like ourselves are out there is the reason why IEC is telling us today that we've got the highest number of registrations, and young people are animated. People are animated because there's choices for a change.
Well, there you go. That's your answer. Okay, thank you. So That's why you vote for smaller parties. Okay, this one is for you. So let's have a look, Fadil, saying, this is from Goog, saying, they need to have a solid plan that doesn't concentrate only on a singular group of people. Coloured people are marginalised, 100%. Having a party that focuses solely on that will only serve to further divide. However, if their manifesto includes free cook sisters and a babuti on a Friday, I'm in. Jokes aside, they must ally with a stronger party to get their voice out there. Yeah.
So if a miracle happens and I become president of this country, the first thing I'm going to ban is babuti.
Oh, really?
I think it's disgusting.
Okay, then you've lost Googs. But you will give her some if she wants.
No, she can have it all.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Look, we've definitely not closed the door to any talks about alliances. To anybody that shares our values, that understands what we're trying to do, we can always have that conversation. But we've always maintained that must happen after the election. You know, when this whole moonshot pact was put together, I said, I won't even reply. I won't even look at it. This is pointless. But coloured people are marginalised 100%. Having a party that focuses solely on that will only serve to further divide. You know, we need to address the divide first. I don't see government doing that. I don't see any political party in this country addressing that divide, saying, guys, we are more fractured now than we were during apartheid. We must be brave enough and address this. Here's the problem. Coloured people are marginalised, 100%. She says it herself. Did she make that statement when the BLF came out in the last election? No, she didn't. It's okay for black people to focus on black people. It's okay for an AfriForum to focus on white people. The minute coloured people stand up and say, what about us? It's an issue. It's racism at its finest. It's the purest form of racism. That it's okay for certain groups to do it. You know, the first political party in this country was not the ANC. It was the South African Coloured People's Congress from the book up. You know, we used to have the Natal Indian Congress in the late 70s. It was never an issue. This is how radical racism in this country has become towards my community. How hostile it's become. It was okay 100 years ago, and it was okay 40 years ago, but it's not okay in 2024, despite us being worse off in 2024.
So if me, as a white South African, why would I resonate with you? Why would I give you my vote? Obviously, as a coloured person who's listening to you, speaking to their issues, you speaking to their problems, but you're wanting to go on a national level. Is it enough speaking to one community, which your voice is so needed, but is that enough to get you to the top? Or is that really not what your aim is? Your aim is to just get the message and word out there.
Let me tell you something, that our provincial secretary is a boer. Paul Harmse Bester. What I'm saying is not going to resonate with every white South African. Do you understand that in the Western Cape, white South Africans in general do not approve of land restitution? They're okay with us living in cramped ghettos, despite the fact that we were thrown off the finest properties in the country. What we're saying is not going to resonate with all whites. Yeah. And I'm totally okay with that. And you know what? I'm going to go left field here. If I was a white South African and I was interested in my privilege, I'd vote for the ANC. Because the ANC has done more for white South Africans than the Democratic Alliance has. White South Africa has lost nothing under the ANC. White South Africa should be thankful for the ANC. The ANC can't deliver anything. And that is why we sit here, and that answers the previous question about smaller parties. You know, I thought that the National Coloured Congress was the only political party in the country that was, excuse me, I've got a terrible flu.
No, we understand.
That
you just
was immune from foreign investment. When I say foreign, I'm talking about the Oppenheimers and the ilk. And today I found out my brother next to me shares the same principle, and already there's a door open for a conversation. But what I'm saying is that in terms of where I see it, where we go as a movement, is our focus has to be on the coloured community at the moment. No one else is speaking about it. No one else is doing anything about it. You know, when people talk, is my time up? Am I being marginalised?
Almost.
Am I being
That's
marginalised?
your Oscar music moment. So maybe just wrap the point you were saying, and then we'll go to a break.
When people talk about us, you know, ENCA had a debate about the deaths of the coloured boys on the Cape Flats 2 days ago.
Yeah, we saw
Do you know
that.
who they didn't invite? Us. Do you know that we have more votes on the Cape Flats than the ANC and the Patriotic Alliance together? They talk about us. They don't talk to us.
And we are talking to you, and that's what this is about. We are talking to these parties that may very well resonate with you. And after these interviews, you cannot write to us and say you don't know who they are, you don't know what they stand for. Because after this, we're going to speak a little bit more about how they plan to achieve these grand ambitions that they say they are. Stay with us here on Morning Live. Entering into the final minutes of this interview, Claudie, into this point, I know that I'd heard you, or I read somewhere that you're saying minimum wage for someone like a cleaner should be at least 15,000 Rand a month. That's what you were saying. What you're also saying is that grants are not good enough for this country. You need more, and that's through addressing the unemployment rate. I know you center all around that. Talk to me about grants, though. Do you still want to see them happen, or would you get rid of them?
No, look, I can only get rid of grants if we create employment. So what we need to do is to reduce people who are depending on grants and create more employment. But also, I'm saying when we create employment, we must not just create employment for people working, but they still go to Mashonisa. They still have problems. They can't look after their children. When it comes to cleaners, I said people must be paid 15,000, and I mean it. Because if you are government, you'll regulate all these things. If everything goes up, petrol, food, I mean, a family, my family, 3 of us or 4 of us, I spend 5,000 just for food.
Yeah.
You can imagine a cleaner who's getting 5,000. How do you live with 5,000? Those are the basics that I'm looking at to say, but how do we, as human beings, how do you pay people, or as government, really? Because government must make sure that they assist the people, their own people. Our people should not suffer because government must regulate. If the prices goes up, why can't we regulate that no prices must go up? If the people are getting these packages. So for me, I believe that we should pay people well. In any case, I don't even understand why workers are voting for the ruling party when they do every year about salary increment. For me, it's a given. You know, even when I was here, no one was marching for salary increment because it was given, even more than.
Where are you going to find this money, Claudie? Because I love what you say,
no,
but where the money doesn't come from the sky.
People ask me when I was at the SABC where I was going to find money. I find money for SABC. SABC was having more money like before. When I came here, it was 4 billion. I put it to 8 billion. I know how to find money.
Okay.
And I will make sure that we pay our people well. And I start with myself. A person who assists me at home, I pay well.
Good.
When I talk about the amount that I'm not talking because I talk, I know how to do it.
Okay. Bongani?
So you pay 15,000?
Hey, my brother, I do.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I do. But I need to put it correctly because my helpers, they start from 8,000 upwards.
8,000
So
upwards.
which means yes, you'll get there. My helper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start
That
there.
doesn't sound foreign
Even
to me.
if I'm suffering now, when I was here at the SABC, my helper was getting 17,000.
There you go.
Okay.
Maybe we'll ask her.
Yeah, so I'm saying workers
with
must
you,
vote for me. All workers in South Africa
Must be paid. Bongani, go
Yes.
for it quickly.
Look, I think in terms of grants, we agree in payment of grants for vulnerable citizens. These are our pensioners, our grandmothers and our grandfathers. And we believe that we should further put more controls around the grant for children. The grant needs to be linked to a child being in an early childhood development center and regular checkups at the clinic, because it's very important. And these things are taken and looked over, but they are very important to ensure that children who receive these grants are actually beneficiaries and also in an institution of learning very early on. The 350 grant, we don't believe is a sustainable grant.
370 now.
It's 370, yes. And we must appreciate that part of the payment for that grant is actually going to come from reserves of the country and also some probably debt from capital markets as well. It does not make sense to accrue, to take up debt for social spending. In fact, debt should create employment, infrastructure and employment as well.
Okay.
And we believe those who are beneficiaries of 350 are just sitting idling with lots of energy. In fact, let me tell you what the bulk of the 350 they are doing as I've been campaigning, and I found out now that the bulk of this 350, they're spending on Betway. So Betway is now a way for young people in townships to live, because they use this 370 now to transact and place bets and to find to try and get some money from these
All
bets.
right.
So we believe that we must do better.
Okay, finally, quickly, Fadil, what do you think?
This is a long story. I've only got a minute. We wouldn't be paying child grants. We would use the money to feed a child at school 3 times, breakfast, lunch, and something to take home for supper. The balance of that money would be invested for every student. And you only get the payout when you pass matric. And there goes the dropout rate immediately. Now you've got a sum of money to either go to study or start a little business. That's how we're going to get our people of welfare. We also believe that pensioners should get 10,000 rand a month. You've worked your whole life, you've contributed. We can't have our elderly suffering, not in their golden years. We can't. And if you're going to ask me where to find the money, just go hard on corruption. There's plenty of money in this country. This is not a poor country. Just go hard after corruption. Lock up people. Lock them up for minimum mandatory sentences, and you'll see things change. The problem in this country is that leadership is involved in corruption, so there's no appetite to go after it.
Okay.
But we cannot. It's not sustainable to have this many people on social grants forever.
No, it isn't. All right, so this is that moment, Claudie, when I'm looking at that ballot paper, and you've got 15 seconds to tell me, why must I put a mark next to your name?
You know, that's gross. That X. Vote ACM for change. Vote ACM for action. What I know is, I'm not going to talk. What you need in South Africa is just implementation. But also, when it comes to education, employment, we should not discriminate people who are educated and uneducated. We need to create employment for everyone. Vote for ACM, please, South Africa.
Bongani, why am I putting an X next to you?
So when you're on the ballot paper, you're going to look for the party with an X, and you're going to look for the fellow sitting in front of the TV with Umqhele. And when you make an X next to that, you're going to understand that you're voting for us to reconstruct our government, to move away from a constitutional democracy that has not yielded the democratic dividends and move towards parliamentary supremacy. Most importantly, we're going to ensure that we unlock human potential, we invest in infrastructure and create livelihoods.
Right, you got the final word. 15 seconds. Why am I voting for you?
A full generation into the not-so-new dispensation, coloured people still don't have a confirmed place in this country. This is the only party that is demanding that we know where we stand. Remember that this is the man that shut down Cape Town in the name of the coloured backyarder. This is the man that's getting sued by the city of Cape Town on a weekly basis for people that he will never know. Vote NCC.
There you go, South Africa. These are 3 potentials for you to vote come the 29th of May. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for participating on social media. Here's your news. It's 8 o'clock.